Welcome to the Gill Podcast, where coaching gets real. We challenge the myths, break the limits, and elevate the way we grow. With your hosts, Hanna, Ruth, Pery, and Tzippy. This is the Guild.
Today we have a very special guest.
Welcome back, everyone. We're so excited to have Seema Gill here with us, joining us from Dubai. She is a Gallup certified strength coach, and we're going to get into what that means here today.
Yeah, let's go. Seema, take the floor.
Well, first of all of you guys, thank you for having me. I know that we've been able to spend a lot of time together, so being on here, I really value the time with you guys. I'm very grateful for, so thank you for that. And I will tell you, I'll open the floor with just a little bit about myself, so anyone who will be listening in will know who I am and sort of what I'm bringing to the table. I'll take you kind of back to where I started from. I actually come from technology. I'm a consultant, and I did over 17 years of that, and then sort of led myself into entrepreneurship, where my husband and I have a global business from Canada, US, and now here in Dubai. And I took all of that experience because I was doing a lot of this informally, and I would be working and building teams. That I formalized it, and that's where the PCC, ACC comes in with ICF. And I had a lot of conversations with people outside of just coaching them one-on-one, and they sort of followed my journey and said, well, how did you do X, Y, and Z as well as you did? And I had to sit with that for a while and ask myself, well, why am I doing that well? And I realized I only did what I'm good at. And I dug deeper, and then came the Strengths Finder, and I was determined to get certified in that as well, because it's actually what I preach anyways, and I wanted to have a tool that I could help my friends, my clients, my family with in the same way. And so that's where I got certified as a global strengths coach as well. So I do have the PCC, I do have the global strengths coach as well. And along this journey, what I noted was in all of the one-on-one and the organizational work that I was doing and the programs that I was delivering, that there was one sort of missing piece, and Pery touched on it. It's the program that I created. We all tend to sit in a place of confusion sometimes, and that's which way to go, left or right. It's the decision that we have to make. And so I formalized a framework, Think Clear, and I actually deliver those to organizations now, but I actually also just speak on it naturally in my conversation. I've done it with you guys as well. And when we have chats of like, well, which way are we going? How do we make this decision? So that's just a real quick little bit about me.
Thank you so much, and it's so valuable. We actually had a workshop with Seema, and we keep gaining so much from this, and we're so grateful that you're here. We're so grateful that you're constantly there for us. You know, like, we're coaches. Every coach needs a coach, and you're one of our coaches, and it's just a pleasure, an honor to have you here. I do have a question though about the strands, because we had, like I said, we had a workshop when it comes to strands, and I feel like after a baby, all my strands change. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like what happened to my strands?
I will get to that.
So I actually think that's a fantastic question, but I want to back up a little bit, because I want to first understand, I want to come into this almost like as an innocent bystander and really as the public, and ask you a little bit about what it means to be a global strengths coach. Like, what does that entail? Can you break that down for us a little bit in terms of why does someone come to you? At what point do they come to you? And like, what's that process a little bit?
It's all around development. And so in working in the strengths arena, I work a lot with, executive levels, but also organizationally. And the whole idea behind it is to be it's performance, right? So how do we enhance our performance? And oftentimes what we do is we look at how we can become better, but we're looking at it through a different lens. Sometimes people, HR will pull you in and they'll say, Seema, you're not doing well here, so let's send you out on training for that, right? Or Pery, you need to do better here, so let's go get you trained there. But my goal and my job is to shift the conversation up. Okay, there's that piece, but there's two ways to approach that. There's one way to understand what that job is and who Seema or Pery or anyone who they are naturally and how they can do that job naturally and from a different lens. I know, Ruth, you feel your strengths have changed, and that's a great coaching session we could have one day, actually. And we definitely will touch on that as well. But it's who are you naturally, and how can you approach anything? Because, your job description is your job description. Your relationship is your relationship. So this is both professional and personal. It's not just I coach executives. I also have one-on-ones with just anyone who needs to excel in a certain way or move forward. It's not about excelling, it's about moving forward.
I've had the honor of working with Seema for quite some time as my one-on-one mentor, friend, coach, and all that. And first of all, the whole strengths thing about operating naturally, that's the underlying thing, beauty of coaching. That's the skill of coaching, is to tap into your natural strengths, right? There's so many different ways, so many different avenues and kinds of coaching, but that's the underlying thing. That's number one. Number two, back to you, Seema, having worked with you and you helped me tremendously operationally because of tapping into my own natural strengths. And also there's this thing of like bringing it not only to the awareness, because we know awareness is a big part of it, but also like making it a thing. Like when we did the strengths, like the Gallup strengths assessment, and suddenly I was a creative and I never thought of myself as a creative. Suddenly it gave it like resonance. It was like there. Oh, but how are you creative? And suddenly things are changing and I'm taking on the role as a creative. I think I mentioned this once. I was so creative as someone who likes to paint and an artist and and now suddenly it's like, no, you're creative with ideas and concepts and, so it changed everything. And that's just a drop in the bucket. Like Seema did so much for me. It's crazy, and I can't wait for you guys, audience, to hear more about like tapping into your strengths, because it's life-changing.
In terms of like, what is the strengths? What is it? There's three parts to this. So if we were to just take Pery's example right now, there's three parts to that. There's the awareness, right? So you really identify what that piece is in you, that talent is in you, right? It still has to become a strength. Right now it's a natural talent, intuitively who you are, naturally who you are. And then it's really claiming it and, taking her or anyone through the process of, wait, I am creative. I have been the one coming up with the ideas and this and that. And then finally, and most importantly, it's becoming intentional about it. You have to intentionally use those talents and use them over and over again until it becomes a strength.
Love that consistency. Like first own it, be consistent about it until it becomes a strength. And then it becomes not just a strength, but like your just nature, your habit. That's how you operate. It's just comes you. That's really cool.
I'm curious to know, how did you decided to get into coaching, and especially a strength coach, like this type of coach?
I got into coaching and development because I was always doing it informally. So when I was in tech, whether I was working with teams or individuals, I felt like I was always informally doing that, right? Building my own teams for the business that my husband and I run. It was all of that. And what I wanted to do is, well, I can keep doing this, but now I can just help more than my teams. I can go out and help more people. And again, this is where the natural part of me comes in. I love working with people and I love helping people, right? Supporting people. And so this is a natural role for me to be in. Something I genuinely enjoy and I genuinely want to help people. And so for me, this was the natural next step for me. And then when it comes to why strengths, as I mentioned before, it's, if you fall into coaching naturally, if you fall into certain things naturally, and you excel in those areas, you have to ask yourself why. Well, I'm doing it because it's where I'm natural at. So I can take that same concept and say, anyone can do that. And anyone can be good at what they do. They just have to know what their strengths are.
I was just curious, what's one of your strengths, like your main strength? Because we did a strength test ourselves.
I have them all printed here. See?
Yeah,
in a binder with dividers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we know our strengths because of you. We learned them. I'm curious to know, what's your strength?
Some of my top ones are, I'm an influencer. I'm great at building relationships. So that comes with the networking and all of that. And communication is also one of my top. And so they all of them are classified into these themes. And a big one for me is strategy and relationship building. That is really where I excel in.
I love that. I love what you said before also, is that you recognize that you were really good at what you were doing, and you then took that step further and you said, well, how did I get really good at what I'm doing? Like what was it? What's my secret sauce? And essentially what you're saying is like when you find your strengths, that is your secret sauce. And that is what you can then use to make yourself successful. I'm curious if you've had pushback when it comes to strengths, meaning have you ever worked with anyone and, like you've done their assessments and they're shocked at the results and they're like, well, this is
sounds
me.
Like Pery actually did that. She's like, but I'm not a creative. But
right, and
but
is there
everyone else can see
pushback?
it.
Because you're saying it's something that it's innate essentially, where you have to bring that awareness because it's in you, and you have to just get that awareness and kind of bring it to the surface. But do you get pushback from people no, no, I'm not a creative, or no, I'm not an influencer?
All the time. And the process in that, I even actually went through that myself until my mentor took me through that and said, well, let's take it back. Let's talk about this. Let's unravel it. And then it's like, what do you do before you do this? Right? Because I just said it right now as well. A communication is quite high for me, but it's not my first. And I actually thought it would be my first. But the question is, what do you do before you communicate? Or what do you do before the thing you think that should be on top? That strength that should be on the top, right? So there are things that we naturally do before we actually do that other thing, right? So for me, there are things that I will do, observe, there's a lot of things that I do before I actually do the communication, but I do the communication very well. So I myself push back, and a lot of people will push back because they have this idea about themselves, right? But until you unravel it and really take it step by step and say, well, these are actually the steps I take before I execute. So what are those steps? And where does that fall into your natural ability?
Is it that people also have an idea of more than just about themselves, an idea of a certain, not label, but a meaning of something, right? Because it's all about also definition, defining your own. So let's say intellect, right? Someone said, no way, I'm not an intellectual, because they have a different version of an understanding of what intellect defines as, but really in their version, a different understanding of it. My question is it just that they're surprising themselves, they don't think they're like that, or is it they just simply don't understand the meaning that it's multifaceted and they can apply it to themselves?
You have someone who will come and saying, well, let's take intellect. First and foremost, well, what does intellect mean to you? We define it for them. And based on their definition, we take it back and we sort of explore that and see how intellect sort of comes up in their daily lives. What are they doing? Are they collecting data? You know what I mean? All the things that would sort of fall under that category. And then it's bringing awareness around what that talent really means. And again, it comes down to perception and definition. Everyone's definition is different, so we have to bring to the light in that definition. That's how we mean.
So what's interesting, I'm thinking about connecting back to when Ruth said that we've worked with you as a team, very briefly, but it was tons that we unpacked in that session because we're in these new positions or roles as leading something collectively, right, collaboratively. And part of running a team or leading a team is understanding your partner's strengths, right? So we did the Gallup assessment, and it's interesting. Can I just touch upon it real quick, each one?
Please, yeah.
That, let's say, Ruth, Seema, you helped us understand that's part of, is her number one strength is belief, right? And I don't want to talk about you on your behalf. You go ahead. And Ruth's strength in running this thing is, can I give you the floor? Talk about yourself.
About myself. You want to hear something? I was reading Believe, and I'm like, isn't that the fact that you have?
See, I love this. And it's an example of her accepting that word and what? What's
it's
your
foundation. End of day. Belief is your foundation. And that's why it's your first.
Right.
Should I read it, Ruth?
So in my head, I was like, I believe in what I believe, but then believe.
But
you
not
have certain
everyone
core
does.
values.
Let's read it though, because I think it's important for the public to understand. Because even with these titles, belief, creativity, there's an understanding to it. So what does belief mean?
And
That's
also
true.
it's how to make that all work within the four of us, which was so
values. That's
difficult.
true.
And
Right. So I didn't mean to get into it. I wanted to give the quick example.
But just so the public understands. So what does belief mean? If that's
So let's
your
say
top
one of the number one, Ruth's top strength is belief. You have certain core values that are unchanging. Out of these values emerges a defined purpose for your life. And yes, Ruth is a leader.
You're a super solid person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's spot on.
Thank you.
And as a leader, your main thing is to keep everything very, what's that word? Very, not straight, but very
On the path.
organized,
Yeah.
purposeful is include responsibility. There you go. Responsibility is number 2.
Yep, that
right?
sounds like
you
yeah.
take psychological ownership of what you say you will do. You're committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty. That is spot on. Right?
So it's almost like getting your horoscope, but way better because it's like very, very specific to you very personally, as opposed to like sometimes when like your horoscope can be like, you're gonna have a very sunny day today. I mean, well, it's like raining outside and you're trying to figure out how that's gonna work.
Actually, Seema, what is your take on horoscopes?
we need to be a little bit ADHD about this conversation. Sorry, Seema, but yeah.
No, that's okay. I mean, look, everyone has an opinion, and sometimes I remember back in the day when we had newspapers and the horoscope would be in there. I'm a Sagittarius, and yes, I fall under what a Sagittarius is. A lot of it aligns. Do I use it on a daily basis? No, I don't. I just focus on
Fair
who
enough.
I am, and I really try to focus on moving that forward. Not necessarily just my horoscope and what that is. I'm big into numerology lately.
And underlying theme again, knowing yourself and what are you going to do with it?
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes.
Seema, we'd love to touch on the numerology that you were discussing. I'd love to hear more about
I
that.
have that printed too. Yes.
Can you explain that a bit more to us?
So the numerology isn't
I'm the worst person to say this
straight
to.
away with Pery as a, hey, let me see how my sort of research is doing. I did it for myself because I felt I was in a little bit of a little place where I needed to move forward. And, you know, every coach needs a coach, but I really wanted to try something different to see what was blocking me. And I just decided to try the numerology. A lot of it is your dates, your times, and this and that, and how everything aligns. And honestly, I did it, and I broke it down, and through a lot of my research, literally the next day it moved me forward because I knew exactly what was holding me back.
No way.
It's incredible.
That's so cool.
It all actually, whether I do numerology, whether I do the decision system, I realized one thing. The thing, and the question is, and this is something that everyone can take away, is what does it cost you if you don't move? If you don't take one step forward?
Yes.
What is the cost of not doing that? Sometimes,
That's
like,
powerful.
for me, numerology was just used as a point of awareness of, yes, I need the confirmation that this is in my way. But the cost of not doing something about it, the cost of not making a decision around it, the cost of not using my own strengths for it is what we should be focusing on. What is the cost of not doing anything?
The cost of regret.
Yes.
Cost
But it's
of
a very
regret.
powerful way of thinking about things because it not only are you moving away from the framework of, oh, but I'm scared or I feel safe here, you're thinking of it in terms of cost. Like what am I paying for if I don't do this? Like what's the cost of it? Which is a very powerful, I think, different way of thinking.
It's a different kind
I
of
love
what
that.
if. I'm like,
Yeah.
what if not? You
Right.
know?
Right.
Is this part of your decision engine framework, Seema?
What you just mentioned as well about the fear and the being scared and overthinking, that is all what I classify as traps. Those are what keeps you trapped, right? And so the moment you know, okay, if you at all know that, yeah, I'm a little fearful to take this step, you know, I'm keeping myself trapped in this moment. So what do I do to get out of it? So this is what my decision engine sort of brings you through. It brings to the surface, what are you going through right now? What are you feeling about it right now? What decision do you have to make? And if you're not feeling fearful, if you're not doing that, you're not being trapped, amazing. Let's move to the movement then. Let's move to a decision, right? But I think a lot of times we have to be aware of what's holding us back, and those are what's keeping us trapped.
I need to book a session with you. I love
Tzippy
that.
feels a little trapped, I think.
I
Highly
love it. I
suggested.
mean, it's my two favorite things. It's numbers and it's coaching. Like, you can't get better than that.
See, this is how we're so different. And going back to what Pery was saying before, how we all came together and we were all so excited to work with each other, but we kept getting blocked by this idea of not completely understanding what our roles were supposed to be. We kept trying to all do and be helpful and figure everything out, but we kept getting stuck. And the second that we took our assessments and we were able to apply it and to really say, let's stay within our framework of what we're good at and what our strengths are.
It's easier. Yeah.
Yeah. And like
Even more so, Hanna, by the way, I think Seema, once when you were coaching me, you brought this in as well, like what energizes you? Meaning we were all happy to do the work because we were excited for this and we see the vision and we're building very nicely together. But it's more like some of us get more energy off of certain tasks or whatever it is. And we're also getting to be more aware of that, identifying what saps us from energy. Okay, that's not your role. And also, if we can link that to the strengths, it's even more fascinating. Like, oh, that's why I love doing this, because it's my strength. And so it's, that's super helpful, just knowing yourself.
Yeah.
And then doing something with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Seema, you had mentioned also that, like, the idea of knowing your strengths is so multifaceted because it's not just about business. It's not just like know what you're good at so that you could succeed in business. You're mentioning it's know what you're good at so you could succeed in life. And I would love to hear more about how you've seen it, like the idea of strengths translate over into personal relationships, friendships, and just to hear a little bit more about that, because I feel like this is like gold. I feel like I want to tell everyone, like, you know, like get your strengths horoscope. Like, this is something you should know.
This is a secret to success, guys. Listen carefully.
I'm so happy that you touched on this because it's not just a professional tool, it's a life tool. And I'll use my own personal example because I'm here. I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share that. I don't want to share anyone else's examples. But me myself, I mentioned communication as a talent or a strength of mine. And if we take that and look at, I'm married, I've got kids, and we're looking at a personal relationship now. I am going, in October will be 17 years for my husband and I being married. You know, we've been together almost 18 years. And so that means I'm very short.
You're speaking to the wrong crowd, Seema.
Seema, we're right with you on that. Yeah, okay, carry on.
But personally speaking, I'm the communicator and he's not the communicator. He sort of holds back, he listens, he does that, and he's very patient. Not to say I'm not patient, but he's very patient. He patiently listens, he patiently observes, and he does all that. But my expectations were, I'm communicating, you should communicate too. But once I understood the idea of this is someone's natural ability. So let's not even use the word strength anymore. Let's focus on the word natural ability, their natural talents and what they're naturally good at. Yeah. It really shifted my mindset to, if I'm naturally a good communicator and he's not, why am I putting the pressure on him for him to be someone who he's not?
Wow.
And that changed the world. I will tell you, it's been years since we've had that conversation or that fight or anything that you're not communicating. We just know how to better work it now. We really leveraged his patience during a heated discussion or anything and my communication. So what changed was he remains patient, and though I'm still the communicator, I've now learned, though he's observing and being patient, instead of me just putting the communication on his lap, I am now asking him questions so he can respond instead of me saying, well, what do you think? What do you have to say about that, right? It's more of these open-ended questions and engaging in conversations so it feels more like a two-way communication versus my expectation or his expectation. The same way for his strengths and his talents, he doesn't put that pressure on me to do things that he's naturally good at, right? Even in business, I'm that communicator, I'm that networker. So in business, you'll see me up at trade shows or doing this, and I'm right up at the front, and he's that Mac guy, he's that product guy, so he's back end. So we stay in our lane when it comes to that. Once you really understand whether your personal or professional relationship, where you're good at, the whole idea of stay in your lane really makes sense.
I think this is fascinating. First
It's
of all,
so powerful.
it's so powerful because it can save so many marriages, because instead of trying to change the person, we're just getting to go along with who they are and working with that. Like it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's always a collaborative approach with any relationship.
And I feel like, you know, we need to learn this at the beginning, as I mentioned, because like for many years I feel like, you know, I was trying to change a few things here and there, and then like when I realized that, okay, that's not gonna work, it's not gonna happen, I need to meet my husband where he's at and who he is, then everything changed. So
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
And then meeting him where he's at is also, like Seema said, like asking questions, meaning being curious about, okay, I'm here. Let me see what you're good at. Let's see how we can do that
Right.
exchange
Like those
collaboratively instead of like
open-ended-
my way or the highway kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you're saying across the board for any professional, even social,
exactly,
marriage
whether you're-
relationship.
Exactly. This is something like for everybody,
This is
not
like
just
the key.
But I think that I think that most people would have never thought about that, how it translates into a relationship. And I happen to be a really dating coach and relationship coach, so it very much resonates with me. But it's so powerful because what you're saying is that just because you have certain strengths, you can't expect your spouse to have the same strengths or meet you at your level of strength or your level of ability. Instead, you have to understand what their strengths are and then meet somewhere in the middle. And I feel like a lot of people, it takes them a really long time to figure that out. Like you were saying with communicating, I think most people feel like everyone should be good at communicating, and that's the basis of any marriage is communication. Yes, but what if you're not good at communicating? Then
such
you
a
have
good
to,
point.
then you have to ask those open-ended questions. You have to help your spouse get there, which is huge.
You know what
because-
that reminds me of, Hanna? Like it's sort of related, but not. But I'll bring you in. I forgot who said it. Like a big Brene Brown, maybe somewhere. She got it from somewhere. I could be quoting the wrong person, but anyway, somebody famous said that in marriage in particular, there's this battery of like knowing when your spouse is at 30% and you're at
I've seen
70.
that. I love
Was that
that.
Brene Brown?
I'm not sure.
it was-
I'm horrible with names.
So
Not my strength. Not
let
my
me
strength.
Oh, no, you're not. Right, I just anyway. So, but connecting those two based on what?
Being when it comes into relationships, when you talk about energy, right? Your partner to do something they're not natural at, that drains their energy, right?
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
they're,
Good point.
being who they are from a natural place, that energy will always remain higher than lower if we're putting these expectations on each other for things that we're not natural at, right?
Yeah.
And there's, like I said, there's always a way to be able to communicate if you're not a communicator through other talents, right? You can still communicate through patience. You can still communicate through, ideas, through being able to influence each other. There's so many different ways to be able to communicate through empathy, right? And you're in a position, whatever that moment or event is, it's how do I use this now to my advantage?
Yeah, it's like a step deeper into just simply knowing the energy at where you're at and then going into, okay, so even more so, let's communicate, understand how to get there. So you're leveraging all that. That's very cool. Yes, got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing, and seriously, we need, like, for each thing that you do, Seema, we need a podcast.
Yeah, pretty much.
Seriously, we can go on and on because these are topics that are so fascinating and amazing and really change. We as group working together, it helped us to communicate better and to deliver what we want to do better. And
Also with less energy. It's
Yeah.
less draining
Right,
in between time trying to figure it
doesn't
out.
deplete us because we know. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like also like Tzippy, this was so for us, like for you. I feel like also
I
because
need
like
the most, I think.
no, the reason why I'm saying is because as many times you were like, but like we were doing things that it wasn't like your energy, but you were doing at the same time like something else that was giving you so much energy, and you keep not realizing that, and until Seema came in and told us, okay, you're doing that and that, that's when you realize that, oh,
Yeah,
I
she
have
gave me,
so much-
Seema, you gave me permission to do what I love and like to take a step back for the stuff that was hard for me. And that was vital.
You came in with like a little magic wand and you're like, bippity boppity boom.
You said, Seema, you gave me permission. I actually did give you permission. I brought it to the surface for you, but it felt like permission, right? It's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
like it's out in the open. We all agree, so it feels like permission. I was about to say, as you guys were talking, it sounds like permission, but it's not. And then you said it.
but that's what we all do as a coaches, right? We give permission in a way, but it's not really giving permission. It's just like showing you this is who you are, this is what you can do, and this is what you can thrive on. So stop doing that and start doing that. Like
Exactly. As you said, every coach needs a coach for this
Yeah.
reason, because you could be the most fantastic, world-renowned coach, but you cannot do it for yourself.
Exactly.
You cannot assess yourself. You can know your strengths from here to tomorrow, but you need to help someone else, especially working with team. Right, exactly.
We're the clear example because we all coaches, we all can manage ourselves, but like the moment Seema came in, I feel like we've been working so
everything.
much.
Yeah.
I'd love to give some actual context examples. Tzippy, can I read your number one?
Sure, but I just do want to say, I feel like as coaches, we're always trying to be the best version of ourselves. And sometimes that's going in a direction we might not necessarily feed to our strengths. And I think that was my issue. I was just trying to be my best self, and we need clarity on what our best self is. So I
Right.
think
That's
that's
actually- yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, that's another term also that I remember we spoke about in the introduction about these cliche terms. Best self, best self. Yes, we know what it means and we're practicing it, but a lot of it's like, said again and again and again and repeated. What is best self? Yeah, everyone wants to be their best self.
Yeah.
So this is like just a deeper meaning of actually like, almost not quantifying that, but just measuring that
Yeah.
and saying, this is the map to your best self. Learn it and live by it.
Yeah.
So,
but
now
do you guys feel comfortable if we like give some examples of the strength, and then Seema, if you can let us know like how to, let's say, use that, right? Like to say, okay, so your strength is this. This is how it can come into play. Can we do that?
I do want to mention Tzippy's one because it's right
Wait,
here, by
she's
the
no
way.
asking permission because wait, because I didn't ask permission. I started reading it at first.
Seema, is that
and
okay?
she's like, yeah.
No, but I was just saying,
yeah.
I love how like yours is connectedness, and I'm like looking
Don't
at it.
say it. We need permission. Once.
You have permission, but yeah,
no.
by the way, it changed a lot, Seema, in many areas when I learned that. It did. I finally understood what I'm good at, and other people started noticing it as well.
So now we can read it. Connectedness. Tzippy Salomon's number one. Okay. Connectedness. You have faith. You have faith in the links among all things. You believe that there are few coincidences and that almost every event has meaning. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's so
so
true. With the moment I saw connectedness, I was like, oh, that's her number one. That's so true. It is
you.
so true. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I love
thank
that
you,
we're
Seema.
attaching some context to what we're speaking about so people can actually understand it. Not that you have to, again, measure it like this per se, but just like as you asked, give
So-
some examples. Yeah.
I just wanted to, if you felt comfortable, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so if we can always edit if necessary, but the idea of connectedness as being Tzippy's top strength. Is there an example that comes to mind for you as to how she can incorporate that, like right away? Like, okay, my top is connectedness. How could I use that?
So that's a very, again, remember these definitions are very personal to the person, right? And because I do know her, because I've been working with you guys for a while, she needs to feel the connection to something that she's doing, right? So she had to connect to the guild, she had to connect to the podcast, she had to connect to the website, to the community, and for her to be able to move forward. So it really comes down to, I was sitting there having a conversation with her. I would ask her those questions. What do you need to move forward while feeling connected? It's about understanding what that, first of all, that means to her, right? There are, of course, general definitions of what that means, but we really need to relate it to the individual. So if you were to take that whole idea of Pery and being creative, look, that could be very different for various people. It could be, for me, I love to paint. It could be for Pery, who loves to come up with ideas. It's all creative, right? But that creative side, look, at a high level means the same thing. But as we start to get into who that person is, and we define or understand and bring awareness to, oh, this is how I'm creative, or this is what makes me feel good when I'm connected, right? Once we know that, then we kind of keep like steering her that way, supporting her that way. So if you want to share what in connection, being connected, keeps you energized, if I put that question back to you, what would you say?
The people. It's very simple. I need to feel like the people are connecting. The vibe in the room, in the guild, is one of connection and not of disassociation, maybe. I don't know what the word is, but everyone needs to feel like they have this pull to the guild and they have the connection, and there has to be a really good and healthy atmosphere between us, between the members of the guild, between anyone who witnesses the guild. It needs to be one of community, and that's very important to me.
And if we take that and now move her forward, we know that in anything that she's going to do is to ensure that there is a common thread between the four of you that will keep you connected, okay? Keep you all happy, healthy, and safe, because our core human needs also need to be taken care of, right? And then when it comes to the community, she'll likely be focusing on how do I keep this community connected, but not just them, but with us.
Yeah.
Right? So this is where she'll really soar, because that is something that, one, she's passionate about, but naturally who she is. And that's where she'll be able to give a lot, and she'll actually have a lot of ideas around that.
I love that. I feel like this also really plays into what you were mentioning before, how it's understanding the strength, but then it's asking the right questions around the strength. Like, okay, so this, you have a strength of connectedness. How does that apply to the guild? What do you need to be able to feel connected to the guild? So it's not just understanding your strengths. It's then asking the right questions to apply it properly. And I just felt like I was in like a live coaching session, and that was great. That was great. But it really gave me an understanding of of the steps, because I knew what you were saying conceptually, but I needed to like have it play out.
Yeah.
So that was great.
I just want to jump back into the changing strands, because I do remember, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Seema, but I do believe that according to the level that you are, meaning when you are growing and when you are in a different time of your life, your strengths, I think, do change, because I remember taking this assessment years ago and my strengths were different. Now that we took it this time around, it was something else that it was so relatable to me at that moment. But I do feel like now that I just had a newborn and I have my babies at home and I have different things, I do believe that also my strengths change. Some of them, not all of them, but I do some of them. So am I correct that strengths do change?
Does time and circumstance change it?
Yeah.
That's actually a really good question.
First of all, I'm happy that we say that till now, because that's a big piece for people to understand, okay? You've already taken the assessment before, right? And now you're like, so you've taken this probably in your early 20s. You tell me, like, around what age did you take it?
Yeah, like early 20s, yeah.
I mean, she's only 23.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, and now you're taking it, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're all of this, and so a lot of priorities have changed. So now you're looking at those questions, what would I do as a mom? What would I do as a spouse or whatever, right? And so your mindset might change a little bit in the way you're answering the questions. But this is why I often tell people, especially as adults, you really don't need to take the assessment over and over again, because if they do change, they're just going to kind of change order, okay? And I always ask people, if you've done the top 5, do the top 34, because those top 10 or 15, those are the ones that are going to kind of go up and down. It still comes down to, where do you operate naturally and innately from, okay? So though you might think that, you know, something has moved up on the ladder, great, it might move up the ladder, but you still probably use something that you used before to bring that one up more, right? So boost doesn't dramatically ever really change. It's just, yes, maybe phase in life and all that, but your natural talents are your natural talents, and I'll give you an example, okay? So if I never took the assessment and someone said, you know, Seema, if you never took the assessment and you know what you're good at, what have you done in your career that has always sort of been the same, that kind of always moved you forward? I've always been in some level of leadership, or like, you know, when my career started, like project management or something where I'm organizing or managing or leading or something, right? And I always sort of felt easier in those roles because they were natural for me, okay? Now, let's put that aside and say, okay, if I've never done the assessment, how do you know that's organization is sort of a natural thing for you? So let me take you to my childhood, okay? I'm going to take you to my bedroom. I know that's weird, but I'm going to take you to my bedroom. Small little closet, and it's a closet with one shelf, and where all your clothes are hanging underneath, and then shelves at the bottom, okay? Then on the closet, there's like the shelf. I took a Sharpie, and I started drawing lines. T-shirt, sweatshirt, pants, dresses.
Oh my.
Wow.
Okay.
My t-shirts there, all my sweatshirts, my pants, and my dresses. Whether people want to look at that as like a level of OCD or whatever, but that helped me. I mean, I don't think I'm crazy OCD anymore, but that level of organization is what I've used throughout my life, and that is what has helped me in any part of my success. As one strength, as one talent, right? So I know that, you know, and that's me as a child to an adult. So what do I do first? I need to be organized first before I communicate, before I do anything. One of my top things is I need to be organized before I speak, before I do anything, before I execute anything. So if you guys were to go back to your childhood, go back to anything before any assessment, and think about those things that you do kind of fall towards all the time, that place that made you comfortable, that was easy for you and you always did.
That's crazy. That's so cool. So interesting. I just went back.
Yeah.
And I just saw my whole, wow, that was so cool.
She just went back.
You guys have to take this strength test because it's just fascinating and yeah.
And there are other ways, right? We wouldn't have to go into it, but there are other ways, not just one avenue of assessment, right? There are other ways to dredge up those strengths, right? Okay, let's not get into it. I mean, it could be not simple, but like having a mentor or a coach who's going to help you do that just through conversation.
I think there's something very powerful though about seeing it in print,
right? That's
and
true.
seeing it like laid out for you,
like metrics. You can't argue with that.
Yeah, because someone can tell you, oh, you're so creative, or oh, like you really understand people, but when you have it like laid out in like a very like official, exactly. Thank you, official way. It's like your strengths are the following, and also if there's like a voice that goes along with it, you know,
Do the voice. Whose voiceover is that?
We'll get an AI voice. But the point is, I think there's something to that. I think there's like an extra layer to that.
That's true.
Yeah. But I wanted to jump for a second because we're talking about strengths, which is always, I think, I always lean towards the positive in general. But I want to take a second to discuss the idea of weaknesses. And I'm curious, Seema, if you agree with the following thought. There are a lot of frameworks, like the Clifton Strengths framework of testing strengths, that will say that weaknesses aren't always missing traits. Rather, they're strengths used at the wrong time or in excess, right? So, for example, confidence can turn into arrogance, or empathy can turn into emotional overwhelm. Right? Do you agree with that?
100%. And what those are blind spots. And I talk about this in my sessions a lot. So what happens is they're not weaknesses. And when you say confidence can go into arrogance, what happens is you're overusing that confidence. That comes out as arrogance. Okay? So if you're overusing something and you don't realize you're really overusing it, that's a blind spot. You don't see it. So, for example, let's take me again, communicating. If I'm over communicating something, if I'm at a place of work, that might make me come off as a micromanager because I keep over communicating.
That's amazing.
I like that.
Yeah, let's say my number one ideation. Let's say what?
No, but how do you keep that in check? Like you use the example of empathy becomes what?
Becomes like emotional overwhelm. Like,
right.
I think
how
it's
do you
just
keep that
being
in check?
aware, Tzippy. Just know that you can overuse something. And meaning it's a good thing, but there's a spectrum, and if you push it too much, then it's. Let's say like ideation, right? I'm sorry, I'm just bringing myself in here because that's what clicked as you were explaining that, Seema. It can happen all the time, especially working with the group, is too many ideas all over the place. Having someone reel it in because like the concepts are all over. What are you going to do with it? Sometimes it becomes a mush or disorganized or overwhelming. So I believe actually the assessment does give that. It gives like the what to be aware of, what to be careful about.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Pass it down. I need to see it again.
I only printed page one. Okay. But sorry, to be back to your question, I sort of semi-answered it, but want Seema's answer, I assume? Tzippy?
I'm good with whoever would like to answer the question.
Here's my ideation flying all over the place, but all right. Okay.
No, but I think it gives people strength to know that even the weaknesses that they have can actually be flipped.
Yes.
And it's not just, okay, these are your top strengths. And by the way, here are all your weaknesses, because everyone is usually very aware of their shortcomings. But to even say these are my shortcomings, but I can flip this, right? Because part of that is really just what I'm naturally, drawn towards, or it's naturally part of me, and I can use it for good. I think that's very comforting.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I'm actually, while you're saying that, I'm thinking like you're saying an example, for example, right? Mine is belief. There was a point that I used to use it way too much and like trying to impose my belief in other people.
Oh, interesting.
And I remember, and while she's saying that, I'm like, remember myself like trying to impose and realizing the way.
I don't know how you could impose as a person. It doesn't seem possible.
I was very imposing. No, but I remember trying to impose and trying to make everybody have
your beliefs,
my beliefs, when they didn't have to. I can continue being myself and have my core values and just continue living while everybody else can have theirs also and just be,
But on the flip side, that means that your belief is so foundational that you can't be shaken. right? That's like the flip side of that strength.
Right, but like at that point, I didn't know, and now that we're talking about it, it's like, wow, now I can understand how that became negative. You know what I mean? How my strength became negative.
Oh, interesting.
But then when I start realizing, then it became positive.
So you're learning how to manage it.
Exactly. So I started learning how to manage it, and it's very cool. Like
That's awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
And then and also the weaknesses, let's say what's a perceived weakness, and use it to bolster that strength. It could be a tool, and just because it's perceived from yourself or externally as a stigmatized bad thing, suddenly you can flip it, I believe, and use it to make yourself so much better,
Pery,
because
you are
it's
the
your natural.
queen of making ADHD a talent and
I had to, because it was.
Yeah, it's your superpower. I'm jealous of you.
Don't be so jealous. You will be tired all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because that is a classic example, because so many people struggle with it, and it's such a stigmatized thing, and it's also not taken well in any system, really. But then when you understand it and you say, no, it's not bad, it's there, and then utilize it, it does become a superpower with anything.
That's
technically,
so cool.
right, Seema? Like any natural thing that is, let's say, perceived or shown as something bad or negative, or something that's affecting you negatively, you can take control of it. Ruth, you're taking control of it positively. I'm connecting my own dots.
No.
It's fine. I make sense. Next.
I love it.
What?
I can actually give you guys a great example that really supports that, okay?
She gets
And,
me.
because
She gets me. I love you, Seema.
superpower.
Yeah. Shouldn't hear it.
So you guys all know Steph Curry, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Ish.
There was like a silence.
I just said yes.
He's a basketball player.
Yeah. No.
Okay, good to know.
He's a basketball player, Golden State Warriors. So in high school, he didn't have the height, he didn't have the build, he was a scrawny kid, and he could play basketball, but all of the recruiters overlooked him because he didn't have the size, the muscle, or anything else. That they didn't look at him the way they looked at the bigger guys, okay? And, some people are the later bloomers. So what he did in the meantime was he knew he could shoot really well. He knew that was a sort of a natural strength for him. And so what he did while everyone was overlooking him, he worked on that. And he didn't he wasn't worried about the muscle that he had to build, the height that he had to grow, because he could control that, right? Yes, he was working out. Yes, he was building muscle, but he had no control of how tall he was, but he did have control of how he could shoot a three-pointer or anything like that. So what he did was he took that strength that he had and he kept practicing it day and day, intentionally, over and over and over again, until it became his superpower. He is now one of the all-time best, and like literally the best in NBA shooters. There's no other one like him yet who can shoot like he can, because what he did was he took his strength and he made it into a superpower.
I love these origin stories because it's true. Like when it just also shows you that you shouldn't define yourself by just the facts
And the status quo standards.
right? And the status quo. It's
Know
like
yourself.
no, you could completely change that, and it's
Yeah.
just a matter of willpower and how much you want to push for it and how much you want it.
And knowing what you have. Meaning, like if someone really doesn't know how to sing, and I always have this question, can he learn? Okay, that's more of like a skill. But meaning like once you know what you're capable of internally, you can use it and push against the status quo. That's what you're saying? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
no, absolutely. And that brings us full circle to the idea of why knowing your strengths is so important, because it really just comes into play in every aspect of your life. It gives you confidence in your interpersonal relationships. It gives you confidence in your work life. And it also helps you understand that nothing is confined to a box of a label, right? Like you can do so much more than that, and that's your strengths. I wanted to kind of like wrap things up with an action item. As coaches, I think that we love to sit and we'll philosophize and we'll chat and we'll talk about hypotheticals, but at the end of the day, we're very goal oriented and we're very action oriented. And Seema, we wanted to hear from you if you could think of an action item or some sort of action that our listeners could take with related to this idea of strengths. Like what is something that they can now do now knowing how important this is?
So I can leave them with what I call a 3x3 strength activation, okay? It's not something that they have to run out and go get the assessment and do, but if they're curious, they can look at like activating something within themselves to kind of understand what that strength looks like and what it could look like. So if you have, and I actually have something for you guys. If I can share my screen and I can put it out there, I've created this strength activation. Is it something that I can share, or should I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, definitely share it. Thank you.
It's 3x3, 3 steps. Okay, it's something that anyone can do tonight or tomorrow. You take 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it is, every day, and just do this. Right? Write down 3 things you did well this week. Okay, no big wins, just small natural things that you did. Was it a conversation, a decision, a moment where you really felt like yourself? Now, if I take this back to examples that we've been having here, it could be Pery, who just has been coming up with these great ideas that she wants to get executed, or anyone who, like any one of your natural talents. If you think, like, I did this really well this week, right? So we really want to bring awareness first to what that is. So write down 3 things that you did really well this week, okay? Then for each one, ask, what was I using? Now, I've only put in a few strengths here, but let's not label what those strengths are yet. Just use the words that come natural to you, right? Whether it be communicating, empathy, if you're a strategic thinker, if you're very disciplined, so you make very disciplined choices or whatever it is, or, you went out and networked this week and you got some great connections. Anything, any words that are not anything scientific, but that are just simple layman term that you can define what that meant to you in terms of a strength, okay? And finally, use one of those strengths on purpose, okay? Use it because the whole idea to make it intentional, remember, like Steph Curry, is you have to practice it all the time. And if you're not practicing it, you're not creating it into a strength or a superpower, right? So, for example, don't wait for it to choose or for something to show up. Just choose it. Be intentional about what you want to practice. And for example, if you want a strong connection, reach out to someone tomorrow. I did that today. I'm like, during this time, as you guys know, we're going through a lot of uncertainty out here. We're still doing things that we can. And for me, that is still building connections. That's still networking. That's still building relationships. Okay. So what am I doing right now? I'm still reaching out to my network and saying, hey, let's go for a coffee. Okay. If you're strong in strategy, solve a problem. Figure out what you're doing to solve problems as fast as you do. Right. And if you're strong in empathy, we spoke about empathy today. And how does your empathy lead you to have better conversations or make better decisions or understand someone better? So these are all just sort of quick, 3x3 things that you can do as a 3x3 activation.
That's awesome. That is
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
This was worth it just for that,
Yeah.
And people can probably screenshot it if you're listening to the podcast, because video can screenshot it and
Oh yeah,
save it.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
amazing.
We definitely
Okay, so
post it
let's-
separately also.
Yeah.
The activation.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
So the
Thanks,
last
Seema.
thing we wanted to do, Perry, I'm gonna see if you remember what this is called because you had a little
Oy.
trouble with the name. Perry, what's this
my.
called? This little last segment that we want to do.
Really?
Yes, Ruth. You know. What
She
it's
called it something so nonchalantly, and I'm like, okay,
It's-
rapid
Am I
fire
right?
squad.
Oh, fire?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a
Fire
lightning
squad,
round. It's
lightning
pretty
round.
basic.
Oh, I was
Fire squad.
gonna say that light up.
Sorry,
No,
Today
look,
one's
it's a
Fire
thing.
Squad. Okay, most of them are lighthearted because that's the whole point of this. But we got a couple of meat and potatoes in there also. Are you ready for it, Seema?
Yeah, ready?
Okay, so we'll start you off. With like an appetizer.
Gentle.
We'll make it like gently. Okay, Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Oh God.
Oh, God.
Neither option.
I knew.
I knew you should have asked
we should
coffee or
take-
tea.
Yeah, we
Coffee
should
or
have
tea.
taken bets. I knew
Coffee or
I
tea.
knew you were gonna say none. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'll go Starbucks because I'm not like a Dunkin' Donut person, but Starbucks I have options. I can get a healthy wrap.
Okay. So no coffee. Got it. Sunrise or sunset? Which would you prefer and why?
Can I pick both? I'll say sunrise. I'm a morning person.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
She made me into a morning person, by the way. Thank you.
By the way, everyone that I
Lucky.
asked this question to, I mean, not everyone, but like a lot of people, it was so fun to hear their like reasoning. Like, I can't wake up that early, so I'm going to say sunset, or like, it was just very
I've
funny.
never seen sunrise yet.
Okay, so what's something that people would assume about you, like they would make an assumption about you that's completely off?
I'm super outgoing, and I am, but I have two parts to me. There's the introverted side of me, which is the way I grew up, super shy, quiet, introverted. And I don't know what light switched on, where in my life, but that extroverted side, nobody believes me.
I don't believe you, sorry.
And also, I don't think anyone believed that she's like not 25.
Oh yeah, can we just discuss that for like a half a second? You look incredible. Yeah, there's no way that you're not actually 21. That's your superpower for sure. Okay, we'll get to the last couple of quick ones. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of advice that I've ever received.
Or it could be something that you loved hearing.
But that one.
Like, we can get back to it, but it could be also just something that you like a quote or something that really spoke to you, that resonated with you. Doesn't have to be the best ever.
There's so many, but I'll try to pick one, and I'm going to pick it based on sort of, what resonates with me most now. And I pass that on to one of my kids right now because of what they're going through. It's very cliche to say, it's okay to say no, it's not about that, but it's okay to walk away from what is not energizing you. And we often live in, and the reason I'm saying this is we often live in a place where we don't know, shy to say no, like, I don't like that, I don't want to go there, or, whatever that no means, okay? A friend saying, no, I don't like what you said to me, I don't like the way you're talking to me, whatever. Being able to stand up for yourself and really find your voice. I think for me, a lot of it is using our voices. So it's all around energy. And I've actually recently just had this conversation with my daughter yesterday about a friendship, and she's only 11, so I had to talk in her terms. And the terms that I translated from my mom was this: does your friend bring you energy, or does she make you tired? And she said, I get tired after. And I was trying to have the conversation on what's good energy and what's bad energy.
Wow, I love that.
Seema, I love that. And raise your hand if you needed that advice today.
I feel like we definitely can pocket that.
In the background.
That's incredible. That's really.
Thanks for that, Seema.
I think we'll end off with this. I think that you're so accomplished and you're so self-aware, and it's always a pleasure to even just be in your company. And I think the last question that we'd want to ask is, what's something that you're still learning about yourself? It could be that she's still learning, so it's quiet.
Something that I'm still learning about myself is I'm always in evolution. Like, if you see my life, where my journey has taken me from a child to an adult who went through school and university and all that, to getting married, to having breast cancer, to having children, and all of that, every step of the way, there was a part of resilience. And every time you think, I can't, like, how much more? And what I'm learning about myself is I don't think I've ever really focused on that moment. Like, when I was going through breast cancer, it wasn't about, I'm going through it. It's like, my focus was, what am I going to do with my time? How am I going to change this story? And how am I going to, even if I have to leave something, a memory or whatever it is for my children before I go, what will that be, right? It's never, what I've learned, and I'm still learning, that is where my focus generally is. It's never on that moment, it's on what will come out of it. And I've actually, I mentioned earlier, I was up for coffee today, for business coffee, and that was one of those things that came up is, it's always about the story after, the silver lining. We've got things coming down on top of us out here and there. What does it mean? And what has the silver lining been for us? And I really enjoyed learning that about myself, that I'm not stuck in the dark. I learn, and I really reach for the light a lot.
Wow.
Oof.
Wow,
Whoa.
that was amazing.
That's awesome.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Something
so
else,
much.
Seema.
Thank you so much, Seema, for
Incredibles.
all of this. And this was a fantastic. And
So many gold nuggets that I'm like pocketing. Thank you.
imagine
Appreciate it.
this is
Good news
the
is you can watch it
beginning.
back. This is the beginning.
This is how the Gill podcast started. Okay, this is gold. So
With our
stay
example,
tuned,
like
because
Seema.
wow.
Yeah.
it's just getting better and better perception.
Yes, and thank you always
so
for
much,
always
Seema.
giving us your time and being so generous.
You're a backbone. You're a backbone to all this magic.
Yes.
Thanks, Seema.
Thank
you so
And
much.
We're grateful for it.
Thank you, Seema.
All honestly for having me. Thank you for always having the conversations with me. I really enjoyed this time with you guys as always.
And we're not done with you, so we'll see you again, Seema.
Yeah, we'll see you
Okay,
soon.
Not
see you
done.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye, Seema. See ya.